শুরু থেকে আমার কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে? শুভ্রদীপ, am I audible?
আমার
হ্যাঁ।
সাউন্ড এবার?
এত সাউন্ড আসছে?
হ্যাঁ 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 হ্যাঁ, ইউ আর অডিবল। আমি তো মানে কয়েকদিন আগে আবার একটা ইয়ে হয়েছে। তো আমি এমনি ফেসবুক বা ওই লিঙ্কডইন সার্চ করছিলাম, কিছু একটা মনে নেই। তো হঠাৎ করে দেখলাম যে 2021-এ অনেকজন প্লেসড হয়েছে এতে, এতে কি বলে, অ্যামাজনে।
আমার তো।
তো ওই ব্লগটা খুললাম। তো ব্লগটা খুলে দেখলাম ওরা বলছে যে গ্রাজুয়েশনের আগের যে ফলটা, তো সেই সময় নাকি অ্যাপ্লাই করতে হবে। তো যাই হোক, দেখে বুঝলাম যে যে এই সেপ্টেম্বর অগাস্টের দিকে করতে হবে। তো মানে ওই ঝামেলাটা ঠুকে গেছে আর কি, যাই হোক।
আচ্ছা, আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। আচ্ছা, we will start from 5:03. Let other people join as well, right? So because today I will be going a bit faster because we are completely beyond schedule. So let some other people join us. Okay, let's start then. Good evening, students. So in the previous class, we had studied the basics of functions. How do we write a function, and what can we do using a function? Right. So today we will study something called as recursion. Now we already know what recursion is, and also we will study some one extra thing known as lambda functions. And also after that, we will see how we can, make custom modules in Python, and we can call that module. So, okay. And after completing this, we will start with the sets, with the tuple first, and then we will continue with the sets, okay, if possible. Now, so to move on, uh, okay, so we all know what a recursive function is, or what is a recursion actually. So recursion, so in Python accepts function recursion, right? So which means a defined function can call itself. Okay, so whenever a function is calling itself, it is known as recursion. Python obviously will support recursion. Okay, and recursion is a common mathematical and programming concept, and it means that a function calls itself. So this means that you can loop through a data to reach a result. Okay. Now again, if you see the program that is given below, let's check. Okay, Argo, no need to write the attendance in the chat box. We will give a Google form, and then there you can give that. Okay. Okay. So in the program below, we can see that we have a function called as try recursion. Okay, and you can see that the parameter that we have defined in the function is actually what, k. Okay. Now in the function, let us see what happens. So whenever we are getting the value of k from the calling function, so whenever we get the value of k, I will first check whether it is less than 0 or not, greater than 0 or not. So if not, what I will do, I will just print the result, or I will just return the result. Okay. Okay. Now what I can do, if it is more than a 0, if it is greater than a 0, so what we will do is, so we will have a variable called as a result, right? And what do we do here? We will just say that k, what's the value of k? So whatever be the value of k, we will see that. Okay. So whatever be the value of k, I will write, so k plus the same function, and the parameter in that case will be what, k minus 1. Okay, so that this will not be the parameter, this will be actually what, the argument. Okay, so if you remember the difference between a parameter and argument, you must remember that whenever we are talking about a parameter, it means that whenever we are defining the function, the things that we are specifying inside the bracket is called what, the parameter. And whenever we are calling the function, the values that we are giving inside the bracket are known as what, the arguments, right? So again, in this scenario, you can see that whenever we are calling the function, so let me mark this just a second. So whenever we are actually defining the function, these are what, the parameter, right? And whenever the value of k is greater than 0, what we are doing is, in a variable result, we are just adding the value of k, and we are calling the function once again. Okay, calling the same function once again. Now obviously, whenever we are calling the same function once again, what happens is, this k minus 1 that we are calling is what, actually the argument. Okay, and what this will do, so if I give the value, if I give the argument whenever I'm calling the function for the first time as 6, so the value of k will be 6, right? So I will check, is k greater than 0? Yes, it is, right? So whenever it is greater than 0, what we will do, we will write result is equal to 6 plus, and again I will call the same function using the value 5. Okay, so what will happen, so first and foremost, it will be 6, right? Then we will call this function. This function now the value of k will be equal to what, 5. I will check, is it greater than 0? Yes, it is. So what I will do, so I will just write 5 plus. So obviously this will be 6 plus 5 plus I don't know what. So in this case it will be 4, right? So again I will call this 4. So the value of this k now will be 4, right? Now what will happen? I will check, is it greater than 0? Yes, it is. So what I will do, I will just write 4. So 4 plus, what is this plus? It is k minus 1. So it is 3. So again it will be 3. Is it greater than 0? Yes. So I will just write 3, right? I will just give a plus. Now this will be 2. Is 2 greater than 0? Yes. So this will be 2, right? Then I will again come to this. It will be 1. I will check is 1 greater than 0. Yes, it will be plus 1, right? And then it will be 0. And I will check is it greater than 0? No, it is not. So what I will do? Result will be equal to 0. So this will be what? A 0. So I will return the result. So what's the result? It will be 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. Okay. So let us do one thing. Let us just write the program once and let us see whether the same thing happens or not. Okay. Now, so let me go to my command prompt. Let me write Python and let me just enlarge this. Okay. And what I will do here is that I will write the same thing. Okay. But in this case, let us do one thing. Since these are since the programs now it will become larger and larger. So what we will do is we will not just use a we will not just use a terminal, but what we will do is we will use a notepad instead. And in the notepad, we will write the program first. And after writing the program, what we will do, we will just call that program and we will run. Okay. So again, it will be a new thing that we will see. Okay. So let me just get out of this. If I write exit, I will get out. Okay. And what I will do here, since you are in Windows, what you can do, you can write notepad.exe and you can write recursion.py. Okay. So notepad.exe will open the notepad. What happened exactly? Can anyone tell me what happened? Did I get cut off?
হ্যাঁ 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 ওই
আচ্ছা
প্রেজেন্টেশনটা বন্ধ হয়ে গেছে হঠাৎ করে
আচ্ছা কোথায় মানে কত অব্দি শুনলি তোরা?
মানে এই কয়েক সেকেন্ডের জন্য হয়েছে
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা
বন্ধ
মানে আমরা নোটপ্যাডটা খুলছিলাম, ঠিক আছে, ওকে।
হ্যাঁ
So I will just share my screen. Okay. Chat box কে কিছু লিখেছিল, কি লিখেছিল? আচ্ছা সবই দেখতে আচ্ছা okay. So what we will do is we will just write notepad.exe and we will give the file name, that is recursion.py, right? And what we will do is we will just press enter. Okay. So it will again prompt me that whether I want to create a new file or not. So yes, I will create a new file. And again, you can see that we are actually having a new file called as recursion.py. Okay. Let me just enlarge this. Let me put this. Let me just enlarge this. Okay. So what here I will do, I will write the same program. So I will write define try recursion. Okay. And I will give the parameter as k. Okay. I will press a colon. I will press a enter. Again, you can give 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, or you can use a tab instead. Okay. So you can, if you use a tab, it will give 6 spaces, but okay, that's fine. So let us use a tab. So tab 6 spaces, and I will write if k is greater than 0, right? So again, we will give a tab and a tab. Okay. So what I will do, I will write result is equal to k plus again I will write the same function name, that is try recursion, and what I will do, I will write k minus 1. Okay. So now what I will do, I will just modify the program a bit. So if it is greater than 0, it is this. If it is not, so we will write a else function, else command, and we will press enter, 1, 2 tabs, and I will write what? Result is equal to what? Will this work? Will this program work? Result is equal to 0. Okay, let us check. And lastly, what I will do, I will return the result. Okay. Okay. Also, let us give the print statement because that is essential. 1, 2. So I will give the print statement result like this. And what I will do, I will just press enter, and the function has been now defined. Okay. Now what else? What I can do? I can write print recursion example. Okay. And we can give a new line. And what I can do, I can write, I will just call the function. So try recursion, and as argument I will give it as 6. Okay, so let us save this. Okay, and after saving this, let this be open, no issues. So if I just go to my command prompt, so I can write here, I can write Python, and I can write recursion.py. Okay, so Python recursion.py, and if I press enter, you can see that it is printing the same. Okay, am I clear till this? Yes, no?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So this is another way how you can write a Python program in Notepad or in any editor of your choice, and you can run this using the command prompt, or else you can use various IDEs that are already available. Okay. Now, okay. Now we will come to a very I will not say important, but a very trivial topic in Python, and that is called as Python lambda. Okay. Now, what is a lambda function? We need to understand first. So the first statement says that it is a lambda function is a small anonymous function. Okay. So again, this term is very important. Anonymous. Okay. So which means, what is anonymous? Anonymous means it is a function, but it will not contain a name as such. Okay. Now, a lambda function can take any argument, any number of arguments, okay, but can only have one expression. Okay, and let us see the syntax, and it will be much more easier for us to understand. So again, you can see that first and foremost we will write the lambda. So if you just compare this with a normal function, so whenever we were defining a normal function, we were actually using what, the def keyword. Okay, so after writing the def keyword, we gave a space, we gave the name of the function, and inside, and after that we actually had the parameters, and we had the scope, and then we wrote the expressions or the statements that will be executed whenever we enter the function. Okay, but in this case we will just use the keyword lambda. So that's the important keyword here. So this is the important keyword lambda. Okay, we will have the arguments. Okay,
ওই যে ওটা আবার হলো।
what is happening?
I think like your network connection is getting some trouble. আমার যা মনে হয়।
একটা কাজ করি, মোবাইল হটস্পট তৈরি করি। না, এটা হতে পারে কি, আমি আচ্ছা দাঁড়া, হোল্ড কর দেখি একটু। Actually, I was teaching through a Bluetooth headphone, so it is possible that it is interfering with my net connection. So not the case, but might be.
হ্যালো, 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 শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ আওয়াজ
Yes, sir.
আসছে।
Yes, sir.
Actually, I think I was talking from my Bluetooth headphone, so I think it is interfering. I don't know. It should not happen.
আচ্ছা এখন আওয়াজটা আসতে হয়ে গেছে আগের থেকে।
দাঁড়া, সে তো আমি মুখের দূরে চলে এসছে, তার জন্য হচ্ছে।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা
এবার দেখ, এবার ঠিক আছে, পারফেক্ট।
একদম একদম পারফেক্ট।
আচ্ছা, আর let me do one thing. Let me connect my phone hotspot. Okay, ঠিক আছে। Okay, the problem will be I'm recording the screen from the Zoom account, right? And every time it is being cut, which means আজকে 2-3টে রেকর্ডিং হবে আর কি। Okay, anyways, what we can do. Okay, so what we were saying is we were actually having a lambda function. Okay, and lambda function is nothing but an anonymous function. Okay, now why anonymous? We were saying that it is actually no name is given. So whenever we are defining a normal function, we have a name, but whenever we are actually talking about the lambda function, we will not have any name for that. Okay, and also we said that the lambda function can take any number of arguments. So but we can have only one expression. So again, you can see that we have only one expression, but it can be argument, or you can see that we have added an s to the argument, so it is arguments. Okay. Now according to the syntax, let us see a example of how a lambda function actually works. Okay. Now again, if I just have the statement as let us we would like to add 10 to an argument a, right, and return the result. Okay. Now again, you can see that how we have written the lambda function. So what we are doing is we are taking a variable called as x. Okay, so this is very important, so just pay a little bit attention. So again, what we are doing is we have taken a variable x, right, and we are writing equal to, and we are writing the lambda function. Okay, so again, we have said that whenever we are actually using the normal function, so we are using the def keyword, but again in this case we will be actually using the lambda keyword. Okay, so we will say lambda a equal to, so a in this case will be actually the arguments. Okay, so if you remember, x second. So again, these are the argument. So again, a in this case is what? The argument. Okay, and again then we will have a colon, and then we will have the expression. So again we will have a colon, and what is the expression? Expression is equal to a plus 10. Okay, so whatever value will be given to a, we will just add 10 to it, and we will return it to the variable called as x. Okay, now so in this scenario, we can see that this is a function where the parameter is a, or the argument is a, and whatever argument we pass, we will just add 10 to it, and we will return the argument a, right? Now let us see what happens. So it means that since we do not have a name for this function, so since the calling variable is x, so we will consider for the time being that x is the name of this function. Okay, and now what do we do? Whenever we want to execute this lambda function, you can see that we are calling as x, and in bracket of x we are actually passing the arguments, that is 5. Okay, so which means whenever we have this 5 will actually be equal to what? A, and we will add 10, it will be 15, and whenever it is 15, I will just take this 15 and I will give it back to x, and whenever we print the value of x, now it will actually be equal to what? 50. Okay, so am I clear till this? We will see the demo, but just tell me, is the background clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let us see the demo first. Okay, so again, it's a small program, so we will not use the notepad, we will just use this. So I can write Python. Okay, and I can write x is equal to lambda lambda. Okay, so a is the argument, and we will give a colon, we will write the expression. So expression is a plus 10. Okay, right, and what we will do, whenever we will call the function, we will just take the name of the variable, that is x, and we will pass the argument. So let us pass 5, and obviously it will be equal to 50. Okay, and again in this PPT, you can see that there are various examples. So again, we have said that we can pass arguments. So the previous example was for a single argument. The next example is, again, you can see it is for 2 arguments. So again, in this case, the arguments are actually a and b, and what we are doing is we are actually multiplying a and b and returning it to what? X. Okay, and similarly we can see that lambda a, b, and c, so these are the 3 arguments, and what we are doing, we are just adding the 3 arguments and we are passing the value to x. Okay, so again, I hope it is clear till now. Now why do we use lambda functions? That should be a question, that if we have a normal function call scenario, then why do we need to use a lambda function? Now it may happen that generally there are two things that we need to understand, that why do we use lambda functions. So the first and foremost thing is that we can use that in a normal function, right, and we can use it in a normal program as well. Okay, and how can we use it? We can use it by with something called as map. Okay, now what is map, we will see later, we will not see in this class because map is a higher level concept. But again, these are 2 concepts by which we can use it. Either we can use it with a method called as map. Map is a very powerful method, and as well as what we can do is we can actually use it inside some normal function calls. Okay, now let us see how can we use it inside normal function calls in the next slide. Okay, so again, you can see that I've written that the power of lambda is better shown when you use them as an anonymous function inside another function. Okay. Now say you have a function definition that takes one argument, okay, and that argument will be multiplied with an unknown number, right? So if this is the problem statement, let us see what we have done here. Let us understand them one by one. Okay. So again, first and foremost, we are having a function called as my function, right? So we are using the def keyword. So this is normal function, and we have taken a defined a parameter called as n. Okay. Now let us say that whatever number we will pass into this function, either we will multiply it by a 2 or we will multiply it by a 3. Okay. So again, if you just go inside the function, what we have written is we have written return. So what will the function return? It will return a lambda function, and what's the argument? A is the argument. And what we will do is, so whatever value will be given inside A, right, I will multiply this value of A with either 2 or a 3. Okay, if this is the problem statement that we have, let us see what we have done. So first and foremost, obviously, if I have defined the function as my function and the parameter is n, so if we call this function, so I will have to give the argument of n. So again, you can see that we have given two function calls. So one is my function and we have given the argument as 2, and the second one is what? My function, and we have given the argument as 3. Okay. Now, which means whatever number I will give inside this lambda function, right? So if the value of n is 2, it will be multiplied by a 2. And if the value of a is, if the value of n is 3, so whatever argument I will pass inside the lambda function, which means whatever be the value of the variable a, that will be multiplied by either a 2 or a 3. Okay. Now, if you remember, I said that since lambda function is an anonymous function, so the variable that calls the lambda function can be considered as the name of that lambda function. Okay. So again, you can see that I have given two variables called as my doubler and my tripler. Okay. And what we have done is, whenever we are calling my doubler, we are actually saying that we are calling my doubler and we are giving as 11. Okay. Now, what does this mean? It means that 11 now will actually be passed into A, right? And if the value of n is 2, it will be multiplied, 11 will be multiplied by 2. And whenever 11 is passed into my tripler, so 11 will be A. And since my tripler, the argument that we're passing in my function is 3, so which means 11 will now be multiplied by a 3. Okay. So let us see this. Let us see what happens, and we will understand it better. So again, if I define a function called as def my function, and we say that the parameter is n, we give a colon 1, 2, 3, 4. We will return, what we will return here is, so we will return lambda, and we will return a is the argument, and what's the expression? It is a into n. Okay. So the function has been defined. Now what we will do is we will write my doubler is equal to, I will call the function my func, and I will pass the argument into n. So the first argument is 2 for the double, and we will have my tripler, and we will write my function, and we will give the argument as 3. Okay. Now, so if I just call my doubler now, and I give as argument 11, so now 11 will be actually stored in A, right? And since it's a doubler, so it will be, the value of n will be 2 and the value of A will be 11, so it will be 11 into 2, it is 22. Okay, let us see whether the same thing happens or not. Yes, the same thing happens. Okay. And similarly, if I give my tripler and if I give 11, so which means the value of A now will be 11 and the value of n now will be 3, so the result will be 33, and you can see that the result is 33. Okay, am I clear till this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, this is a very important or very a very fun thing that we can learn, and that is known as what? Python modules. Okay. Now, what's the Python module? Let us understand first. So, a file containing a set of functions you want to include in an application. Okay. So that's a module. So what's a module? It's a file containing a set of functions that we want to include in our applications. Okay. Now, To create a module, just save the code you want in a file with the file extension .py. Okay. Now let us see what we can do here. So suppose we can go here and we can write exit, and for example, I can write suppose let us save it as greeting.py. Okay. So we can write the same thing, notepad.exe, and we can write greet.py. Okay. Right. Okay. So we can write greet.py. Okay. So we want to create a new file. Yes. Now what we can do here? We can write def greeting name, and what we can write? We can write print hello, and we can give a space. We can write plus of name. Okay. Let us save this greet.py. Okay. Now what we will do? So suppose so I can write Python here. Okay. And what I can do is I can write import greet. Yes. Okay. And what I can do is I can write greet dot the function name was greeting, so greeting, and we can pass the argument from here. So I can write IEM. Okay. And now if I press enter, you can see that we are printing hello IEM. Okay. So am I clear till now, or do I have to repeat? Actually, I went very fast.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yes,
Clear.
sir.
Yes, no? Someone said no?
Yes.
yes বলেছে।
Oh, yes. Okay, fine. Now, again, a module. So we have seen a function call here. Okay, but a module can contain functions as already described earlier, but also variables of all types, that is arrays, dictionaries, and objects. Okay, so again, we can see two examples here. So very quickly we will see these examples. So let us just press exit here, and let us go to greet.py. Okay, so here what we can do, either we can write, suppose we can write a dictionary here, and in the dictionary we can have 3 elements. So the key of the first element is name, and the result is what? Value, John. So John is the value. Okay, I can give a comma. This is the second element, so it is age, and it is 36, and comma, and we can write country is equal to what? Norway, like this. Okay, so we can save this, and what we will do is I can write Python once again, right? I can write import import greet, and what we can write? We can write, for example, greet dot if I want to find out the name of the country. So since this person one is a dictionary, so what I can do, I can use the square bracket method. So I can write what? Country, like this. I can write country like this. Okay, and if I press enter, you can see that it is printing Norway. Okay, so I hope I'm clear till this. So either we can pass dictionaries, we can pass functions, we can pass lists. So any iterable that we have, or any variable, any type of variable that we have, we can pass using this module method. Okay, now also what we can do is we can create an alias. Okay, so again, if so we have given the example as greet.py, but suppose you have written the program name as mymodule.py. Okay, and again, if you want to write mymodule.person, mymodule.greet, so mymodule, this is a large name that you will have to write every time. So what we can do is you can always write import mymodule as mx. Okay, so which means if I just write the same thing, and instead of greet, if I write import greet as gt, So that is also the same thing that we can write. So again, instead of greet.person, what we can write gt.person, and we can print the country. So again, it will print Norway. Okay, so this is the type of a alias that we can create for a module. Okay, now there are several inbuilt modules in Python as well. Okay, and which you can import whenever you like. So again, there is a concept called as platform. Let us see what platform does. So if I write import platform, so these are the inbuilt ones. Okay, so we have now we have till now we have seen how we can create our own modules, but there are some inbuilt modules as well that can be inside Python. So again, platform is such type of module. So if I import platform, so it will be imported. And if I write x equal to platform dot, so suppose system is a function inside this platform module, and let us print x and let us see what happens. If I print x, you can see that it will show me the name of the OS that actually I'm using. Okay, and also there's a dir function. And what is this dir function? It's nothing but the directory. So which means whatever functions are there inside this platform module will be listed to us. So again, if I write import platform, and we want to check uh, the functions that are inside the platform module. So again, if I write dir of platform, you can see that these are the functions that are actually available inside this module, and we can use these functions. Okay, now also we can also choose to import only parts from a module. So again, here you can see, I will not go into the demo because it will take some time. So again, you can see that in this suppose my module.py, we have a program, and inside this we can have a function where we have greetings, and suppose we can have a the dictionary that we had actually created. Okay, so we have two things that we can import whenever we choose to import the my module .py module. Okay, so again, here you can see that from my module, so either we can write import my module as empty, for example. So again, you can write from empty import person1, or again, if you do not, if you want to use the full name, you can write my module. So again, you can see that we are writing from my module import person1. So actually we are not importing the greeting definition greeting function, but actually we are using what, we are actually importing what, the dictionary called as the person1. Okay, and after doing this, we can print the person1 age. Okay, now just remember one thing, this is a note that we have. So when importing using the from keyword, so again, if you are using the from keyword, okay, so in this case, I will not write my module dot person of age. I will not write that. Okay, so whenever I'm using the from keyword, I will just write person1 from age, right? But if I'm not using the from keyword, then I will have to write what, my module dot person1 of age. Am I clear? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Next is, we come to another major thing in Python, that is called as what, tuples. Okay, now what's a tuple? Tuple is actually used to store multiple items in a single variable. Okay, now again, we have seen earlier as well that we can use lists to do the same thing, right? We can use list to store multiple items in a single variable, but again, we can use tuples as well. Now obviously there will be a question, sir, what is the difference between tuple and a list, and why, when should we prefer tuple and when should we prefer list? So whenever we will complete this tuple, at the last slide I have given you the difference between the why, when should we use a tuple and when should we use a list. Okay, so the first thing is, tuple is actually used to store multiple items in a single variable. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, tuple is one of the four built-in data types in Python. So we have seen this earlier. So there are four data types. So list, set, dictionary, and tuples. Okay, so we have seen dictionaries, we have seen lists, we are seeing tuples, and after this we will see the data type set. Okay, now a tuple. So this thing is very important. So listen to this very carefully. A tuple is a collection which is ordered, which is unchangeable, which is it is immutable, and it allows for duplicates. Okay, now what is ordered? So whenever we say that tuples are ordered, it means that the items have a defined order, and that order will not change. So again, as we have discussed this earlier as well, so the order in which we are actually inserting the elements into the tuple, that order will never change. Okay, but whenever we will study sets, so again till now we have seen dictionaries in which it is ordered. We have seen lists are ordered. We are seeing tuples are ordered. So again, you can say that, sir, whenever we are seeing all this data types, if everything is ordered, so why do we need to specify that it is ordered, right? But again, whenever we will see the fourth data type, that is a set, we will show you that a set is actually not ordered. Okay, so that's the reason why we have to mention that these data types are actually ordered. Okay, so whenever we say that the tuples are ordered, it means that the items have a defined order, and that order will not change anytime. Okay, now the second thing is unchangeable, which is it is immutable. Okay, so tuples are unchangeable means that we cannot change, add, or remove items after the tuple has been created. Now again, you can see the difference here, that in the case of dictionaries, we can actually add items, right? We can actually change items. In the case of lists, we can actually add items, we can change items. In the case of strings, we can add items. We cannot change the string, but again, there are concepts of how we can change it. So we can copy it, we can change it, and then we can create another string. Okay, so again here, what we can see that it is unchangeable, so which means we cannot add anything. All right, we cannot change anything, as well as we cannot remove anything from the tuple whenever it is created. So that's the most important differentiator between all the other data types that we have studied and a tuple. So we cannot change anything, we cannot add anything, as well as we cannot remove anything after the tuple has been created. Okay, and again, tuples allows for duplicates. So since tuples are indexed, so they can have items with the same value, right? So again, whenever we say index, which means we can obviously by the index we can call certain elements, and since we have indexes, so obviously we can have duplicate values as well. Okay, now how do we write a tuple? So tuples are written generally with the use of round brackets. Okay, so if I just want to define a tuple, so I will write just let me clear this. Okay, so I will write my tuple, right? And what we will do, we will use round brackets, and inside this, suppose we have 3 elements: apple, banana, and cherry, right? So we have created a tuple. And how do we know it's a tuple? Obviously, we will see the type of my tuple. So if I write my tuple, and if I just want to print the type of it, you can see that it's a class tuple. Okay, now okay, so again, these are the things that we have discussed earlier as well. So again, len is a universal function that I have discussed earlier as well. So again, whenever we want to find out the len of a tuple, so again we can use the len keyword. So again, we are not showing the demo of this. So if I print just the len of this tuple, and this tuple has already 3 elements, so obviously it will print what? 3. Okay, now this is a very important thing. If we want to create a tuple with only one item, so we can do that. Obviously we can do that, but we can, what we do is just see the point. To create a tuple with only one item, you have to add a comma after the item. Okay, otherwise Python will not recognize it as a tuple. So again, you can see that whenever we are creating this tuple, so let us see the demo here. So if I just write my tuple like this, and we are saying that we have only one item, and that is called as apple, and if we press enter, right, and if I print type of my tuple, you can see that it's not actually a tuple, it's a string. Okay, but if we want Python interpreter should understand that this is a tuple, what we need to do is, so whenever we were defining one element, we just have to use a comma, right, and then we have to press enter. And in this case, if I print my tuple, you can see that it's a class of tuple. Okay, now tuples items can be of any data type. So you can see the first 3 examples. So the first tuple is of has 3 elements, and all the 3 elements are strings. The second tuple has actually 5 elements, and all the elements are actually integers. And the third tuple is actually having 3 elements, and all the elements are actually in Boolean form. Okay, and also a single tuple can also contain what? Different data types as well, which means it's a heterogeneous in nature. So again, you can see that in this tuple, we are actually, the first element is a string, the second element is a integer, third element is a Boolean, fourth is a integer, and fifth is a string. Okay, so again, we can do that as well. Okay, and also, so we have seen this. So from Python's perspective, tuples are actually defined as objects with the data type tuple. So again, we have seen that whenever we write, whenever we want to print the type using the type function, so we can see that it's nothing but a class of tuple. Okay, now, so it is also possible to use the tuple constructor to make a tuple, right? So again, we can see we have seen the same thing in the case of lists as well. So we also have the list constructors. We can also have the tuple constructor as well. Okay, but now in the case of list, what we have seen is we need not write extra some things in the case of list using the list constructor to make it a list. But in the case of tuples, you can see that whenever I'm using the tuple constructor, where actually I've written here. So note the double round brackets. So whenever we are actually creating a tuple using the tuple constructor, so obviously we can see here that we are actually having what? The double round brackets. Why the double round brackets? Because first round bracket is for the tuple constructor, and the second round bracket is nothing but for the actual tuple. Okay, so whenever we define a tuple using the tuple constructor, so just remember that we will have to use what? Double round brackets. Okay, now you can access tuple items by referring to the index number inside the square bracket. So again, we have seen that we have discussed that tuples are actually they're ordered first, and the second thing is what? That since they allow for duplicate values, so obviously these are actually indexed. Okay, so again, if I have a my tuple like this, so if I just write my tuple, we have already defined my tuple. Okay, so let us define it further. So let us copy this and let us write my tuple, and let us copy this. Okay, let's paste this. Okay, so this is my tuple. So again, if I want to print out the value of the second element, so obviously it starts from a 0. So the second element is actually the index 1. So if I write my tuple of, so we can use the square bracket method. So whenever we are using the index methods, obviously we will obviously use the square bracket. So if I write my tuple and if I write 1, so obviously it will print what? Banana. Okay. Also, negative indexing is possible. So again, same as in the case with lists, right? So if I write my tuple of -1, so obviously it will print what? The last element. So it will print cherry. Okay. And also what we can do is we can specify a range. Okay. So which means if I have, suppose, instead of apple, banana, cherry, let us add two more things. So let us write my tuple and let us add mangoes because mangoes are in season. So let us write mangoes and let us write guavas like this. Okay, and what we can do is we can write my tuple and we can write 2 is to so 0 1 2 3 4. So suppose we are writing till 5. Okay, so if I just print this, you can see that we are printing the last 3 items. Okay, and also since indexing is possible, so obviously we can also say that the thing by which we actually define the increment parameters, that is also possible. So which means if I write my tuple and if I give a square bracket, if I don't give the start index and if I don't give the ending index, which means these are the default things, and but if I give 2, so obviously it means, so it will print what? Apple. It will increment the pointer by 2. It will become cherry, and now it will increment the pointer by 2, and it will print guavas. Okay. So these are the basic things that again can be done using lists and also can be done using tuples as well. Okay. Now, again, to determine if a specified item is present in a tuple or not, we actually use the in keyword. So again, we are seeing the same thing. So using the in keyword, we can obviously print whether in this example, so we can print apple is in this tuple or not. So if apple in, this is the in keyword that we are seeing. So this is the in keyword. Okay. So if I just want to print whether apple is in this tuple or not, we can just use the in keyword, and if it satisfies, we can come into the scope and we can write what? Yes, apple is in the fruits tuple. Okay, so we are not seeing the demo of this because we have seen this every time, and if we keep on repeating the same thing, it will become actually boring. Okay, now once a tuple is created, you cannot change its values. Okay, so this is the main thing that we were actually seeing in the first slide. So once we have created a tuple, we cannot change the actual values of this tuple. Okay, so tuples are actually unchangeable or immutable, as it is also called. Now, but there is a workaround. Okay, so what's the workaround? You can convert the tuple into a list. Okay, change the list, because we can change a list. Lists are actually mutable in nature, so we can change a list and then convert the list back into a tuple. Okay, so again you can see that we are using the list constructor here, right? We have seen the tuple constructor, we have discussed the list constructor, but here we can see that we are actually using the list constructor. What is happening? Okay, so we're actually using the list constructor. So let us see a very quick demo of this. So suppose if I have my tuple, so if I have my tuple, let us print it. Okay, so we have 5 elements, and what we can do is, if I want to add anything to it, right? So what I can do, I cannot add it directly into a tuple, because tuples are actually unchangeable. They are actually immutable. Okay, so what we will do is, first and foremost, we will convert this into a list. So we will use the list constructor that we have. So we can have we can write x is equal to list of what? My tuple, right? And now if I print x, you will see that this is actually a list. Okay, now in this list, what we can do, we can write, for example, we can write how do we add elements into a list, if you remember? Anyone?
Sir, append.
Okay, so append will actually add elements into the from the last element,
End.
at the last,
End of
at the end. Yes, so we can write append, and suppose, okay, what fruits can we add? Anyone give me an example? I'm out of examples. Kiwi. Yes, we have an example, kiwi, right? So let us say kiwi. Okay, so now if I print x, you can see that it is actually a kiwi, right? Now what we can do is, we can again use the tuple constructor to convert this back into a tuple. Okay, so what we will do, we can write my tuple is equal to tuple of what? Of x. Okay, and now if I print my tuple, you can see that we have added kiwi into the tuple. Okay, so I hope it is clear. Now okay, so since tuples are immutable, they do not have the built-in append method. Okay, but there are other ways to add items into the tuple. Okay, so the first element, the first way we have seen that we can convert it into a list. Okay, so again we have seen the same thing. In our example, we added kiwi, but they are actually adding orange, and then we are actually converting the list back into tuple using the tuple constructor. Okay, now what else we can do? We can add a tuple to a tuple. Okay, so which means now if I want to add orange to this, what I can do, either we can use the list method that we have seen earlier, or else what we can do is, we can write tuple1 is equal to, we can create a tuple with a single element. Okay, and if I write a single element, we can write a orange. And what did I say for a single element? What was the catch? Anyone? What was the catch? If I want to
comma dite hobe ekta.
comma dite hobe, exactly. So at the end we will have to give a comma, right? And after giving the comma, what we will do is, we can write my tuple plus equal to I can write what? Y. Okay, so y, not y, we can write tuple1, so the tuple that we have actually created now. Okay, so if I just write press enter on this, and now if I print my tuple, you can see that we have actually added orange. Okay, okay, so it's already 5:55. Very quickly, let us move into the next slide. Okay, so to remove elements, so again we can convert a tuple into a list. We can remove the apple in this case, and convert it back into a tuple. Okay, so again, we know how to remove elements from a list. So in this example, you can see that this tuple has 3 elements: apple, banana, and cherry. We are first converting into a list using the list constructor. And now what we are doing, we are just removing the apple element. Okay, and then we are converting it back into a tuple using the tuple construct. Okay, and also we can delete a tuple completely using the del keyword. Okay, so again, we have a tuple called as my tuple. So what we can do is we can write just del, and we can write my tuple. And now if I print my tuple, you can see that my tuple is actually not defined because it is not there in the memory anymore. Okay, now, so whenever we create a tuple, we normally assign values to it. Okay, so this is very important, and this is called packing a tuple. Okay, so which means in this example, you can see that we have given a name of a variable called as fruits, and it's a tuple. So we have used the round brackets, and we have given what 3 elements into the variable called as fruits. Right now, obviously, this is the fruits. If I print the type of fruits, it will be a tuple. And what is this called? This is called packing a tuple. Okay, now what is unpacking? Let us understand. But in Python, we are also allowed to extract the values back into variables. Okay, so this was the thing that we were actually seeing earlier in the previous class. Okay, let us see the example and it will be much more clearer. So this is called unpacking. Now what is this unpacking? Let us see. Let us very quickly why did I delete it? No, there was no need to delete the thing. Okay, so my tuple is equal to square brackets apple, banana, and cherry. Okay, and if you remember in the previous class, whenever we were actually returning two variables from a function, if you remember, if we were return a and b, and how did we catch a and b? Whatever we returned, so we actually wrote what x comma y is equal to, and we called the function, right? So whenever we were actually sending the values from the function, we were actually sending it as a tuple, right? And then we were unpacking the tuple into what x and y. If you remember the previous class, if you don't, just go to the Google Classroom, see the slides of the previous class and the videos as well. Okay, so what we can do here, we can write green, what the hell, we can write x, y, and z, right? And we can write what my tuple. So if I write this, let us see whether it, okay, yes, we can write my tuple. So if I just
ty লিখতে হবে, tu হবে না।
কি হলো বল?
my tuple যখন appleটা
oh sorry
ডিক্লেয়ার করা হয়েছে তখন স্পেলিং মিস্টেক হয়ে গেছে।
sorry okay, so now if I print x, you can see apple. If I print y, you can see banana, and if I print z, it is cherry. Okay, so this is called as unpacking a tuple. Okay, now there are various aspects to how we can unpack it, and we will see that in the next class. Is already 5:58. Okay, so let me stop sharing first, and what we will do here, we will just give the attendance in the chat box. Just a second, let me stop